Away from the aviation sector, the federal government has announced a 7-year ban on the establishment of new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education across the country. President Bola Tinubu also ordered a comprehensive review of deductions and revenue retention practices by Nigeria's major revenue-generating agencies. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde has more.
President Bola Tinubu's target of achieving a $1 trillion economy by 2030 is still on course. He is deliberate in ensuring it is not truncated and also closely supervising the implementation of policies that will stimulate economic growth. The president has now directed the economic management team to focus on spending efficiency by emphasizing the critical role of savings in catalyzing investment and growth. The cost of collection by revenue agencies such as customs, FIRS and others will now be reviewed. Also, a reassessment of the 30% NNPC management fee and the 30% frontier exploration deduction by NNPC based on the Petroleum Industry Act.
The issue of review of the deductions from the Federation account, costs of collection by FIRS, customs, NUPRC, NIMASA and others, to look at the appropriateness and the possible savings in those key areas amongst others. And likewise, NNPC has charges of 30% management fee and 30% management of the Frontier Exploration Fund, and we are charged with ensuring that in order to optimize every naira available for investment.
The federal government is concerned about the proliferation of tertiary institutions in the country. At the Federal Executive Council meeting, a 7-year moratorium was imposed on the establishment of new federal universities, polytechnics and colleges of education. Instead of establishing more federal tertiary institutions, the focus will now be on the development and funding of existing tertiary institutions.
We're witnessing significant deterioration of infrastructures, both physical and manpower, at these federal tertiary institutions. So, and if we do not act decisively, what we'll have significant reduction in the quality of graduates coming out of these institutions, which will impact our global rating and the respect that the international community has for the graduates, for the people graduating from our universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education.
Memos were also approved for the Ministries of Works, Power and Transport. The Minister of Works disclosed the federal government's plan to hold a constructive engagement on the reconstruction of some critical bridges in the country. He also announced approval for the review of the 152-kilometer Kano-Katsina road.
Review of 152 kilometers of roads that is sliced into 2 sections by the previous administration, Kano-Katsina road. The first section was awarded in 2013 for 14 billion and reviewed to 24 billion by the previous administration. And so due to the realities of time, this 74.1 kilometer is reviewed to 68 billion. We have a total funding 2024 appropriation budgetary is 6 billion and 2025 is 34 billion.
President Bola Tinubu's message to his Federal Executive Council was clear: to achieve a minimum growth rate of 7% by 2027 and optimize every available resources to sustain the momentum and finance the country's growth trajectory, especially in a time of global liquidity constraints. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Commissioner for Education, Adamawa State, Dr. Umar Garba, joins me on the news at 10 for more on the suspension of establishment of university. Thank you for joining us on the news this hour. Quickly walk us through what you make of this decision and how much impact you think it will really have on the quality of education at the tertiary level?
Well, good evening all, and I'm happy to be here. The decision by the federal government to suspend the establishment of tertiary institution, I think, is a two-edged sword. It has a good side and a bad side. It has a good side in the sense that it is federal government, and it is the one who knows how what it takes to bear the burden of funding these institutions. If it says today that it doesn't have enough to fund the institutions at the speed at which they are being created, I think it's something that we must be able to reason with it. Be that as it may, I also do understand that there's a relationship between good funding and quality education. If we must be able to have a system that make it so seamless in such a way that we should be able to relate the standards with the level of funding we are having. As admitted by the federal government, it is really true that funding is a key issue and it's already affecting quality. But then, while we talk about quality, we also need to be cognizant of providing access. The more we establish these schools, perhaps the more we provide access to some of the applicants that we still need to take into these tertiary institutions. Some of them might be still finding difficulties, especially in certain parts of the country, to access schools, tertiary education.
Absolutely. Dr. Gadra,
so
as we speak now,
it's still a key thing.
Nigeria has over 270 universities, and the conversation is still rife as to whether or not our graduates are leaving this school with the right skills. During the course of this moratorium, what specific reforms do you think government and regulators have to implement to ensure that our schools are really delivering?
That's where the real issue is. I think the numbers are still not, it's still not too much for Nigeria. What the federal government should be more concerned about is reforming the system, retweaking the curriculum, checking the standards as far as quality of teaching and research is in these institutions, and be able to match the level of research, the level of teaching, level of linkage between these institutions and the market. So the reform shouldn't be restricted to the numbers alone. You may have fewer universities, you may have fewer polytechnics, but in an event where you are not concerned about what really happens within the few that you have, then you'll still be left with a lot of problems. So I don't think the numbers is the major reason why we don't have quality. The reality is that we need to reform the system entirely. We need to change even the courses and the orientation of the entirety of the entire concept of tertiary education. A situation where people go just to cram or to memorize and write examinations and pass is not what is required today in modern education. People must be able to come out with skills. People must be able to read things that can relate well with the needs of the society. Every institution should be tied, should tweak its curriculum towards solving problems. Unfortunately, the way it is today, the contemporary problems do not seem to tally with the solutions that are expected from this from graduates of these institutions. So it's very important that reforms needs to be taken in the numbers of the institutions we have.
All right.
And be able to link market with research and teaching.
Dr. Omar Gabra, Commissioner for Education at Adamawa State, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you and good evening.